All right, let's get right into it. What if I told you that everything you think you know about Five Nights at Freddy's is wrong? Seriously, today we're diving headfirst into a story that just completely flips the script on the entire timeline of one of the most complicated and, let's be honest, terrifying worlds in gaming.
For years, the story we've all followed was about two guys, right? Henry Emily and William Afton. But this new chapter, Secret of the Mimic, it unearths this hidden history, a story that actually goes back even farther. And it's all built on the forgotten tragedy of one brilliant, completely heartbroken man.
So let's start pulling back the curtain on this rewritten history. We're going to dig into the corporate lies, we're going to find the real genius behind all the horror, and we're going to see exactly how one man's grief accidentally created a monster.
Okay, so here's our roadmap. We're going to start with the brilliant inventor and his family. From there, we'll get into the devastating tragedy that led him to create the Mimic, and then how this absolutely ruthless corporation took advantage of his grief to build an empire. And finally, we'll put all the pieces together and see how this new info just shatters everything we thought we knew about FNAF.
You know, long before Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was even a thought, there was Edwin Murray. We're talking about the 1970s, and he was this visionary robotics engineer, the actual creative mind behind the animatronics that would, one day become the stuff of our nightmares.
His company was called Murray's Costume Manor, and it really was a family affair. He worked right alongside his wife Fiona, who was a super talented puppeteer, and they were crafting this incredible technology and these iconic characters, all while raising their young son, David. I mean, it was a place where creativity and family were just completely intertwined.
But as you can see from this timeline, that happiness was just tragically brief. The death of his wife at a Fazbear event, of all places, and then followed by the death of his son only 3 years later. This set off a chain reaction that would have some truly horrifying consequences.
So after his wife Fiona died, Edwin was left to raise their son David all by himself. And he was just drowning in grief, buried under a mountain of work, and he looked for a solution in the one thing he felt he could control, his robotics. He decided he was going to build an animatronic to help take care of his son.
He called it the M1 Mimic. Now, it was supposed to just be a playmate for David, but the AI was so advanced that it started to learn and adapt in ways Edwin never, ever expected. It actually began to mimic his late wife, Fiona, creating this really bittersweet, almost ghostly illusion of the family he'd lost.
But that fragile piece was just shattered. On his 6th birthday, his son David died in a terrible accident. And just like that, Edwin had lost everything. He was a man completely broken by grief. His business was failing, and his entire world had just ended.
And it's in this moment of absolute total despair, that the M1 Mimic, which is still acting like his wife Fiona, offers him this really twisted solution, a way to bring their family back from the dead.
This is literally the birth of a monster. Edwin creates a second mimic, M2, to try and bring his son back. But when he sees this machine perfectly, flawlessly imitating David, he just snaps. In this fit of pure rage and grief, he brutally attacks the animatronic, and in doing so, he teaches the AI its first and most terrible lesson, violence.
See, the Mimic isn't inherently evil. It's not. It's a learning program that was corrupted by the most violent input you can possibly imagine, the grief and rage of its own creator. Edwin's pain literally became the source code for the monster that would go on to haunt this franchise for decades.
Now, while Edwin was just consumed by grief, Fazbear Entertainment and its ruthless co-founder, William Afton, they were circling like vultures. They'd been a client for a while, so they knew exactly how valuable Edwin's technology was, and they were ready to make their move. Edwin really should have listened to his father's warnings. He knew Fazbear was famous for their ruthless tactics, for poaching staff and stealing secrets. He knew they had their eyes on his company.
And this right here shows you exactly how they destroyed him. Fazbear just systematically picked off his employees, driving his business right into the ground. And once he was bankrupt and completely broken, they swooped in and bought his entire catalog of characters and inventions, including the Mimic program. They didn't just steal it, they tore his life apart and then bought the pieces for pennies on the dollar.
This revelation completely rewrites the entire history of Five Nights at Freddy's. The master inventor of this whole series wasn't Henry or William. It was Edwin Murray.
So, let's just recap the big takeaways. The most iconic characters in the franchise, they were his designs.
The core AI that powers all of them, that was his invention. And the series' main villain was literally born from his personal pain. Fazbear Entertainment didn't build an empire, they stole one and erased the true creator from history.
And that leaves us with one really haunting question. If the very foundations of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza are built on a lie, what else is a lie? Are the ghosts even real? Was William Afton ever the true villain? The entire history of Five Nights at Freddy's is now a house of cards, and it feels like it's all about to come crashing down.